Sony's about to announce the A7 IV. Will it have a curved sensor, 4K 60 without overheating, or a 150 megapixel sensor? I've gathered the A7 IV specs from around the web to come up with the most likely scenario. This and more after the intro. Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning into The Ordinary Filmmaker. Subscribe to get notification of new videos like this one so you don't miss any news, rumors, gear reviews, or tutorials. And just to make things a little bit more exciting, I'm giving away a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. Details are in the description down below, or you can watch this video here, but please look at the terms and conditions as there are some age and location restrictions. And now for the A7 IV. But first, let's talk about what happened last week. Now last week Sony announced the Alpha 1 and I enjoyed the presentation. It kind of felt Apple-esque. Now my eyes did dry out as I dared not blink for fear of missing a single feature, though that's partly because I was taking copious notes to publish my own follow-up video shortly after Sony's presentation. The Alpha 1 is currently the most capable fast-action sports hybrid camera on the market, clearly trouncing the Canon 1DX Mark III and the Nikon D6 in most cases, so much so that almost everybody, including myself, is comparing it to the Canon R5. With the week having gone by and lots of review videos published, we can now turn our eyes over to the A7 IV, a camera due for an update. I'll give you the latest rumored specs and where I think Sony rumor sites got it wrong, or to quote Adam Savage, I reject your reality and replace it with mine. The Sony A7 IV is the most anticipated Sony camera due out this year. I'd even go so far as to say it was the most anticipated Sony camera due out last year. Let's have a peek behind the curtain at the current rumors and see where I think they could differ. Now the Sony A7 IV will have a new full-frame mirrorless sensor capable of between 30 and 32 megapixels. And this is pretty much a given. I wouldn't expect Sony to recycle that old 24 megapixel sensor. That's so 2016. Now it will come with a single Bion X processor, but we are told that it will be larger and more ergonomic than the A7 III. I'm not sure what to think about this one. Now the current A7 III measures in millimeters 127 by 97 by 74. The Alpha 1, 8.6K oversampled 8K powerhouse capable of 30 frames per second at 50 megapixels. Well, it's just a little bit bigger at 129 by 97 by 70. And I get it, sure, it's arguably bigger, but hardly in any noticeable way. It's not like comparing the Canon 1DX Mark III against the R5, where you could easily measure that in inches. I don't expect the A7 IV to look any different in size from either the Alpha 1 or the A7S III. Now the A7 IV will be capable of 4K up to 60 frames per second without overheating. Well, for this to be a reality, it would have to have better thermals and a larger body than the Alpha 1. But the Alpha 1 has a 30-minute recording limit in 8K and 4K 60, showing that even it has to follow the laws of physics in such a small body. And I know what you're thinking. Simon, put it in high heat tolerance mode and you'll easily get over an hour. And yes, this is true, but still, the Alpha 1 is limited to 60 minutes in low heat tolerance and about an hour in high heat tolerance mode. So how can we expect the A7 IV to record 4K 60 without overheating at all? Just doesn't make any sense. There's no surprise that the A7 IV can record up to 120 frames per second in 1080. And if we do the math, there's no reason why a camera that's capable of 4K 30 couldn't easily go up to 180 or even 240 frames per second in 1080. Now, I really love the look of 120 frames per second. Some people like 60 when you're shooting in 30 and gives you that 2 times slow motion. But I think 120 gives you that buttery smooth slow motion. And I think it works for most scenarios, but there are times where I wish I could slow things down even further to 180 or 240 frames per second with autofocus. But what I'd really like to see is 1080 high quality mode. So here's the thing, I've been shooting with the Canon R5 for quite some time, and it has what you call 4K HQ mode, where basically it's reading the entire sensor, 8K worth, and in camera downsampling it down to 4K. So that 4K is really, really detailed. I think it just inches out the Sony A7S III for detail. But why can't all these cameras that shoot 4K capture the data, capture the video in 4K, and then downsample in camera to 1080? And I know what you're thinking, yes, but Simon, would probably overheat. 1080 is one of the modes where we don't have any overheating. Okay, I'm not saying rip and replace. Keep the current modes, but offer us a high quality mode. And I think that would really help improve the quality of 1080. From what I'm seeing from the polls that I have out on the channel right now, a good 70% of you are watching on smartphones, and there's just really need for 4K. There's no need for 4K, so if we could shoot in something like a high quality 1080p mode, well, then you're able to get much better quality, and of course you can reduce your editing times. We'll get HLG, S-Log2, and S-Log3 for extra dynamic range. They say it will be capable of up to 15 frames per second or 10 frames per second with autofocus and auto exposure. I'm not sure what to think of these numbers. I definitely think that 10 frames per second is possible mechanical with autofocus and auto exposure, but would expect Sony to bump up the A7 IV to 20 frames per second electronic with autofocus and auto exposure. This is assuming, of course, that you're using Sony lenses. If you're using Sigma, Tamron, or any other third-party lenses, well, you're going to be limited to about 15 frames per second, just like the Alpha 1. Now, the A7 IV will have a 2.69 million dot EVF and a tilting LCD like the A7 III. But you'll likely get stuck with a low 1.4 million dot resolution. I'm conflicted here. The Sony A7 III has a fully articulating flip screen, but the newly announced Alpha 1 doesn't. Now, Sony could go with one of two designs here. They could use the A7 III body style, meaning that you get the flip screen, or they could use the Alpha 1 where we get a tilt screen and better cooling. What do you think? Will Sony use the same body as the A7 III or the A1? Do you think that the A7 IV will get a flip screen? Or do you even care if the camera comes with a flip screen at all? Let me know in the comments section down below. Now, finishing off the rumored specifications, the A7 IV will have an improved IBIS, a CF Express Type A, and a UHS 2 SD card slot, and retail for between $2,200 and $2,400, although I'm leaning towards $2,399. I'd classify these specifications as rumored specs rather than leaked specs. Sony is very, very good at keeping secrets, and if the past history is any example, well, there's definitely some truth here, but I wouldn't make any bets. The Sony A7 III was supposed to get a 15 megapixel sensor, while other rumors said it would have a 30 plus megapixel sensor with a quad Bayer filter. We didn't get any of those. We got a 12 megapixel sensor. The Alpha 1, well, it was supposed to cost $10,000 and have a curved sensor. Now, none of these rumors or specifications were correct, and many came out just before the launch. Now, I really do enjoy talking about rumors and leaked specifications, even if I can't get the words out properly, but it's important to tell the difference. What's proposed isn't too far-fetched, but we'll have to wait and see. Will Sony make an announcement on the heels of CP+? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. But now, let's go behind the scenes. Earlier today, I got a comment saying that I seem to be turning into a Canon channel, and it's certainly not my intention, but let me explain things to you if you're new to my channel. I get my information from rumor sites and from news sources, and I'm checking it multiple times a day, and usually around this time at night, I'm switching over to Asian news so I don't miss anything. Now, I don't report on every little bit of news, but I try to cover off the major stuff. Now, number one, Canon has 45% market share, so they cover almost 50% of the market. So there's a lot more news coming out on Canon. Second, there's a lot more news coming out on Canon. Canon leaks information. They take a different approach to Sony and Panasonic. Canon has no problem leaking stuff, and sometimes they themselves, corporate marketing, will leak stuff to the press. And they love playing with the media. They love owning the media and dominating the news stories of the day. Where Sony, they don't like to let anything out. They like to completely control it. If they do want something out on the market, they'll have an executive, a division manager, or somebody come out and actually say a couple of sentences, or do an interview like Tanaka did on the A7 III about 2 months before it came out last summer. But Canon, it's a very different beast. Now, here's the thing. Yes, I shoot with Canon, and I have Canon gear, but that's because I started with Canon many years ago because my brother had a Canon and he recommended I get one, so it's what I did. But you see, I'm producing a channel. I want to get views. I want to engage people. And if I chase news that nobody cares about, I'm not going to get any views. I would love to cover more details on the A7S IV, the A7 IV, the Alpha 1. I'd like to cover more leaks, but look at the A1. I published 2 videos just before it was released. And prior to that, there was very little information coming out on it. I can only publish what comes to me, even rumored specs. This whole video here, it's about a Sony, not a Canon. And the reason I put this one together is we hadn't heard a lot of rumors recently, and there's multiple different sites saying multiple different things. So I wanted to sum up all the rumors and then give you my analysis and opinion based on what I thought would happen. So I do my best to cover all the cameras, but even Panasonic too, they don't like to leak a lot of stuff, and I really want to know what's going on with their strategy, what's happening with the GH6. but I can't cover stuff if it's not there. I'm not trying to be a Canon channel. This is not CNN, the Canon News Network. Well, it's probably CNN, the Camera News Network. And that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to just cover Canon, but I report on what comes out. For those of you who've been with me a long time, you do know that I cover Sony and Panasonic and others, but it's just the nature of the beast. All right, and before I go, I'm just going to give you a quick update on my R5. I just got a report that my R5's audio jack was out of place, so they need to order some parts to resolve the issue. I should have it back next week. I'll update you once I know more. But that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe for your chance to win 2 Angelbird 128GB AV Pro MK2 V90 UHS-2 SD cards. Whew, that's a mouthful. And you also get a dual UHS-2 card reader, also by Angelbird. Or you could also win the Ulanzi LED light package with accent lights, underwater lights, and various other flat panel lights. I'll be awarding these 2 prizes to 2 lucky viewers once the channel reaches 30,000 subscribers. And then I'll offer up a different prize every 10,000 until we reach that significant milestone of 100,000 subscribers. And once I reach 100,000, I'll be awarding a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. And on that bombshell, thank you so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. I do appreciate it. We'll see you again soon.